Welcome back. This is Brighter Morning with Bo, the day after the budget. October 5th is the date today, and we have our guests. We are talking budget all morning this morning until 8 a.m. We have Roger Hosein on the line, and we will talk to him now.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Tewarie. I'm not sure if you are hearing me.
I'm hearing you clear, seeing you clearly.
Right.
I'll ask you an initial response, and then we will talk to Nirad Tewarie, and then we'll talk to Larry Howai, and then we'll have a conversation among the three. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine with me.
All right, good. What is your initial response to the budget?
Well, I read the budget. I am still processing it, still picking out some facts and figures from it. My initial response is that the budget has plateaued, and we seem to be pitching at an oil price, to me, that is at the upper bound of the mean and the sum of two standard deviations. So in other words, it's a high oil price in terms of the last 5 years. The energy dependence, we seem to have taken a gamble that we would experience an energy price commodity super cycle, and we have put a lot of emphasis on energy in the budget, and nothing is wrong with that. If you have a product that could generate vast amount of revenues, I see nothing wrong with tapping into it, except that this is the same commodity and this is the same type of strategy that caused us to be in this type of economic position that we often find ourselves in. And so that had me a little perturbed. The Minister of Finance is in an unfortunate position. Underneath the numbers, this is the first time we have had 6 years of contraction since 1984.
Yes.
And I would like to set the record straight. This country is in a depression. We have had 6 consecutive years of contraction, 2 of which I submit, well, 1 of which for sure is because of COVID-19, 2020. Most economies in the world in 2021 have returned to economic growth. We, based on the minister's comment yesterday, remain forecasted at -1% for 2021, and we should be concerned about that. I would have thought, my opinion, and I have said this in many varied places, that we would have found a way to bring the fiscal deficit down some more. We kept expenditures at around 52 billion. I wasn't exactly clear how much was capital expenditures, but that's because I didn't look at the other document. But the fiscal deficit of 9 billion means that debt would increase. I saw a jump in forecasted nominal GDP of about 5 or 6 billion, whereas real GDP is expected to contract -1%. And I know those are forecasted numbers. I just wondered about the accuracy and the integrity of those numbers, because it's such a sharp differential. The implicit GDP deflator would have to be maybe about 5%, 5 to 6%, whereas I heard him say that the inflation rate for 2021 would be about 1%. But again, this is just off sitting down for about an hour and looking at the numbers this morning. I will do some more digging. I didn't see anything about registering the Venezuelans, so the labor force participation rate would continue on its merry way downwards. I didn't see, I saw some attempts to boost trade. I saw a number of comments with relation to the manufacturing sector. I know the Point Lisas, the effort we are making at Point Lisas with the Chinese have been on the table for the last 3 budgets. I saw it come up again. And I saw him mention where it would be an opening for the Chinese into Latin America. I hope it's an export opening, a production for export, and not an import distribution opening. I hope it has no impact on our foreign exchange downwards, but it impacts our foreign exchange favorably.
Roger, let's hear another voice. We'll go to Nirad Tewarie now. Let's talk with him. and hear a business perspective. Nirad, good morning. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
I know you issued a statement last night from AmCham. I don't know if you want to speak to that or you want to just respond this morning to what you feel are things that you want to say about your response to the budget.
So I think good morning to you and all your viewers and to Roger. The the budget this year seemed to try to connect a few things. It appears as though the Minister of Finance is trying to unlock business confidence or instill some business confidence. And that is a good thing. It also seems like there is a realization that we need to use the energy revenue to try to pivot in a more meaningful way than we have in the past. So the focus on digital transformation, trying to incentivize manufacturing, linking that to confidence. And then the third is a focus on the infrastructure. Now, none of these things in and of themselves is new, but it does appear as though there is a greater acceptance that there's a need to reinvigorate confidence and to link various things together to achieve the outcomes. Now, within that, we still don't have the definition of the metrics that would allow us to see how well we are doing, in particular vis-a-vis the social outcomes that we would like. So during the minister's speech, he spoke about maternal and infant mortality and the strides we have made in both of those, as in the number of women and babies who are safer today in childbirth than 5-6 years ago, and those kinds of metrics would be good. The attempt to strengthen the BIR, notwithstanding the enforcement capacity of the BIR, notwithstanding the move to the Revenue Authority, again, is a good thing. And I think after years of contraction, as Roger has been saying, it is quite likely that we will see growth in fiscal 21-22 because of higher prices, commodity prices, and higher production. And starting from a lower base, we are likely to see growth. Now, we have to be careful that we don't allow that to mask the need for significant reforms to improve the ease of doing business that would allow us to benefit from the growth in a sustainable way. And so to me, that's the sort of frame that we see on the budget as an initial position.
All right, that's very strong. Let's go to former Minister Larry Howai, former Minister of Finance, and let's get his take on the budget.
Yeah.
Larry, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show, and good morning to all your viewers. The budget was read in the context of the pandemic, and from that point of view, no adjustment measures in a sense were introduced. And in fact, I think what the minister tried to do is to ensure that nothing was done that could cut off the recovery and particularly impact negatively on small businesses in particular. But the thing with our budget is that sometimes it's like a State of the Union address together with a budget speech. It's like a combination of the two things that the UK and the US does. And I think the minister tries to deal with everything, so the budget tends to be a bit tedious sometimes. But again, it is a trap that all of us fall into. In a sense, this being the only communication medium the government has in a formal way on a regular basis with the community at large. One of the things that I saw in the budget, and I tried to go back into the numbers last night, but when I went to the ministry's website, they had not posted as yet when I was there, the details of the associated documents that are normally laid in Parliament together with the budget. And one of the things that I was a little bit surprised at was that the level of expenses that we had in relation to the number of projects that were spoken of. And I'm not sure whether some of them are, as they say, shovel ready, or whether they are in fact projects that the intent to start this year, but probably nothing will happen during the course of this year, and we probably won't see any activity until next year. But if it is that they're going to happen this year, it means therefore that a lot of it will be done via the state enterprises, and it will be done by government borrowing to support the state enterprise. And therefore, it didn't show in the budget per se directly in terms of the finances, but it will show up in government's expenditure. And that is something that could potentially expand the size of the deficit, even beyond what Roger was saying a little while ago. I think the numbers they've put in terms of things like the oil price and the gas price, I hear what Roger is saying. I think that they're reasonable numbers in light of where you expect the prices to be. I'm looking at futures numbers, which are the numbers that people put money on, in the sense that they actually trade on the basis of the futures prices, as opposed to, say, what the academics may say and so on in their own projections. And the futures prices are a little bit higher than where the minister had pegged. One of the things, of course, as you know, Bo, is that any excess over the price that is quoted in the budget, normally what we did in the past is that 60% of it goes to the IDF and 40% of it goes to the HSF. I'm not sure if the minister will continue that practice or simply off all of the extra income and bring it into revenue this year. If he does put it into the IDF in the way that it had been done in the past, that will then reduce the amount of borrowing that the government has to do. I think generally there's a lot more I could say about some of those details. I don't want to necessarily spend too much time unless you would like me to go into some of those details. But I think generally what the minister tried to do is not derail the incipient recovery that he's hoping will take place next year. And there will be growth next year. And again, the issue is not whether there will be growth. There will be growth. The issue is, will that growth take us back to where we were in 2019 in real terms? Will it take us back to where we were in 2018? And how close will it get us back to where we were in 2015, when the real GDP number was somewhere in the region of, I think, 170 billion from the last review of the economy that I saw. So the issue is not whether you'll have growth. Yes, there will be a lot of growth, but we need to be careful about understanding what that growth means and where we are in real terms in terms of the quality of life of all our citizens. So those are just some preliminary thoughts. I'm happy to expand on them and to talk a little bit more about other issues.
Okay, we're going to have to break shortly for commercials. But when we come back, we're going to have Marlene Atz join us, and then we will talk to the four of you together about issues that you have raised. If I can have a summary position on the three of you, I think Roger is worried about the price of oil and gas as articulated by the minister. He feels that it might be risky to make those assumptions and to rely so heavily on energy revenue as the minister is doing here and as we have done traditionally. I think, Larry, you have taken the position that based on the futures and the trading in futures, it seems reasonable to take that position, and you're more worried about if the price is higher. So you are very positive about that, whether in fact that money is going to the IDF and the HSF. And Nirad, I think you see some positives in the attempt to connect what is likely to be increased oil and gas revenue to a strategy for development which facilitates or which is based on an attempt to build confidence within the private sector for investment. So that's the summary position of the three of you here, and we will break for commercials now and come back to Marley Nats when we come back.
Welcome to Lifetime Solutions, where you can trust your roof to us. Our services include custom fabrication, steel framing, roofing installation, on-site roll forming, roofing maintenance and services. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionst.com. Lifetime Solutions. You can trust your roof to us. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com.
Your house is more than just a home. It's the new normal. It's your place of work, your kids' school, and even your gym. It's where you and your family spend most of your time. With over 43 years in the building service industry, let Magic Mist Services Limited take care of your home cleaning and maintenance needs. From ceiling to floor, interior and exterior, allowing you to focus on what matters most to you. Give us a call. Magic Mist Services Limited, your total facilities management solutions provider.
You did the right thing. So now we're giving you things. Republic Bank thanks you and wants to reward you for getting vaxxed. Win $5,000 in prizes every week, plus one of 2 cars in December. You took care of your health, and now we're taking care of you. $5,000 and a chance to win a car. See press and log on to republictt.com for details.
Mangalese Trading Company Limited. Specialist in PVC ceiling, gypsum ceiling, suspended ceilings, medallions, lights, metal framings, and SPCS flooring, known as vinyl plank. Now introducing Mangalese Foods, wholesale and retail, distributor of the family brand food items. Our range of products include rice, sugar, chickpeas, split peas, and soybean oil. Mangalese Foods deliver exceptional products. We offer timely and efficient service. We are located at 9 Francis Lala Road, Charlieville, Chiguanas. Contact us at 672-9889, 740-5569, or 336-4373.
Mangalese Trading Company Limited.
Brighter Morning with Bo. We are back, and we're glad that you are with us watching on MCTV. I am Bo Tewarie, and my guests this morning, right now we are talking to them, are Dr. Roger Hosein, Mr. Nirad Tewarie, and Mr. Larry Howai. Let's carry the conversation a little bit and explain to the population that what the minister has done is projected an oil price beyond $60 for some time, much higher than that, and therefore he has set the oil price at $65 a barrel, and he has predicted increased production in oil. And secondly, as he has projected an a gas price that is pretty high, he talked about the fact that the gas price is $5 and over now, and that it reached $6 sometime earlier in the United States, that it is can be as high as $20 in the Far East, and he has pegged the price at about $3.75. So those are his assumptions, And whether or not he will be correct is anybody's guess, but I mean, you can calculate whether they are reasonable assumptions. Roger, I'd like to go to you and ask you, is there anything different and decisive in the budget that you think we should take note of that can make a difference going forward?
I think this particular budget to me placed more emphasis on energy as compared to the last two budgets. And some of it would be with good reason. As Larry mentioned, we are commodity, we are currently probably, and that's the part that has me a little worried. We are currently probably at the start of our energy commodity price super cycle. People are, China is going at a still fairly healthy pace. India is going at a still fairly healthy pace. You are also seeing some of the effects in the iron and steel market, in the bauxite market, based upon some of Chinese policies spilling over into the global economy. But my concern is that oil price, not so much the gas price. We have made this mistake so many times in the past that pitching at the upper bound of the mean, and in fact, it's a little above the upper bound of the mean, and I will check the actual numbers today and put it in the public domain, is always worrying to me. It means that the probability of saving Larry is very, very low. It means that there is no intention at all to use the HSF formula that allows you to put the actual price minus the budgeted price, the proportion that goes into it, that's out of the question. So the simplest way to avoid that is you go at a very high price, so the probability of having to take money and put it in the HSF becomes very low. I don't like that type of budgeting. I get worried when I see so it therefore means that there is a possibility that energy revenues could be inflated. It is therefore possible that the fiscal deficit could be understated.
Yes, that masks the deficit.
Right.
If he is wrong. Yeah.
If he is wrong. Now, if he is right, that is good. But again, it brings me back to a standardized position. Where is this country positioned on its production possibility frontier? And time after time, we keep saying that we need to increase the production of non-booming tradables in relation to other parts of the economy. And whilst I heard Nirad speak about manufacturing and I read the comments there, and in fact, to me, one of the best comments I saw in the budget was the comment on the e-tech parks where they plan to make it more commercial and whatnot. I think that has some prospects. But my concern is where the geography of the new production point on the production possibility curve would take us. And I am not seeing a significant move towards the direction I was hoping. And the focus on energy in the budget leaves me a little concerned. But it could be because I need to pay more attention to some of the details, which I intend to do during the course of the day. But that's from my preliminary look. I felt a little uncomfortable with the use of energy to bail us out. And mind you, bail us out after we are about 20%, let's say 18% smaller in GDP. Economic size because of contractions in the energy sector.
Yes. Okay. Nirad, you talked a little bit about the fact that the minister was trying to, in your view, boost confidence in the private sector. Talk a little bit about that and what you are likely to see in business behavior, in investment output, and how this could be made possible and what else the government has to do.
So I have a slightly different take on this than Roger. And I think the question you're asking is actually linked to what is happening in the energy sector in the short term. So first of all, the energy sector is where we are getting the bulk of our revenue as it stands, and it is what is driving the rest of the economy um, in the short term. We can't just go from point A to point Z. We need to have a transition. And I think what the minister did, there were two significant things for bigger business and one significant thing that is happening globally. The last bid round that we had, it was only BP and Shell who put in bids. And we've announced a bid round for 2022 at a time where BHP's gas assets are being bought by Woodside, which is very much more focused on gas production. Now, if we have, and then you have EOG in the mix as a smaller but significant player, and then De Novo and others look on the onshore discoveries with Touchstone. So if you have more of a mix of players in the gas production sector, it allows you to do more. The acknowledgement that we have to get more competitive in our upstream to incentivize the production of gas right now is important because we need that revenue to be able to transition. The acknowledgement again around the withholding tax changes again is a signal. I don't think that it is hugely significant overall in material terms, but it is a signal that the government is thinking differently about how it wants to interact with businesses and investors. Now, you also have a commitment to, or the start of a rationalization of the state enterprise sector with the merger of HMB and the TTMF. And then you have the Export TT, Invest TT proposed merger. What the question that you asked at the beginning, I think, so the rationalization of the state sector hopefully will see greater efficiency and less expenditure and must continue. You have the commitment to tackling WASA, and you have the breaking up of the HDC into a rental management company and a housing development component, whatever that will look like. Now, of course, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. Can this be done efficiently? Will it be done? Will these things be done at all? But if they are done, they should result in cost savings on the one hand in the case of HDC and the rentals, as well as the restructuring of WASA and greater efficiency so that more people can get the water on a more regular basis. So if you have a sort of attempt to manage the state expenditure and the delivery outcomes, attract the investment that you need, what then should we be doing to be able to use that to transition to something new? So the commitment to the National Statistical Institute, I note that the minister did not say the bill is coming definitively. It should. We need to have real-time, and he acknowledged this, there's no excuse for not having real-time, up-to-date statistics on which we can make decisions and adjust policy as necessary quickly. So we need the National Statistical Institute. He recommitted to the unique national identification number, implementing electronic funds transfer so that interacting and paying with the state will be more efficient. So if we can have the digital transformation components of interacting with the government implemented, if we can have reform of the customs, if we can have real movement around the ports, then we start making Trinidad and Tobago more open for growth, more attractive to people staying here. I heard the president of the Nurses Union last night say that the little change that they will make to contracts for nurses will make it more attractive for nurses to stay here rather than migrate. That can have a positive impact on healthcare delivery. So we need to start, we're starting with the the big items to increase, hopefully, production of gas, because our gas production has fallen, and without a steady gas supply, we will have instability in the sector. And for us right now, I think that is more risky than the commodity prices, because if we have a spiky production, it is going to affect our income even from the petrochemical sector. So if we have stability in gas supply and we have predictability of income, then we are more likely to be able to plan more efficiently. And as I said in my opening, the commitment to infrastructure work hopefully will allow for greater stimulation or greater opportunities across the board, and linking, of course, to the transportation plan that the minister referenced with CAF. Again, these are commitments. What we need to see this year and in future years is meaningful and quick and nimble execution. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, Larry, I'll give you the last word on this because we've got a break for news at 7. Do you think that, in fact, we will see execution of the kind that we need in this pandemic situation in which the economy has been ravaged? And secondly, do you think that the talk in the budget will translate into action?
Yeah, well, yeah, that always is the issue that we face. For example, last year in the budget, there was talk of a tech investment fund and a tech promotion and development company, which was supposed to be a catalyst for getting the growth of the IT economy going. There was talk about a new government service delivery model, which would issue passports, for example, within 2 weeks. There was talk about the aluminium industry to be revisited to foster downstream aluminium production. There was talk about a construction program anchored on a SMART program, utilizing a SMART growth scorecard with KPIs and so on. There was talk about, for example, the support for the manufacturing sector to double output by last year. It was set as 2024. In this year's budget, it suddenly became 2025. And I understand the reason why it would have slipped to. It's because of, I mean, this year has been almost a lost year, so to speak, right? But nevertheless, to answer your question, there has been quite a number of issues raised in the past, initiatives and so on. We're not sure what is going on. We're not sure what is happening. We're not sure whether the public service has the capacity to execute as would be required in order to make these things a reality. So we need to understand and look at some of those things. Even I agree with Roger's point about the oil and gas. We do have to transition, as Nirad has said. But of course, this year's revenues, as has been said, is pretty. There are a lot of issues around whether, in fact, you'll achieve the revenue targets that you want to hit. You know, for example, the output, for example, is an issue. I mean, Juniper's platform started at 570 million standard cubic feet a day. It's now gone to 350 million standard cubic feet. And that was a big output. You know, if there are any delays in Matapal, that would create some issues and so on. So, and there were no real other initiatives around revenue generation other than the sale of the first citizen shares and one or two other issues. So I think there are real concerns. And of course, going into next year, there are a lot of carried forward losses that companies would have incurred in this year and last year that will also impact on revenue generation, and which is one of the reasons I wanted to see the estimates of revenue expenditure, to see what was projected from corporate tax as opposed to what we had received in previous years. I didn't take a look to see when it does come up what those numbers look like. But again, all of those things are uncertainties around the revenue number. And over the past few years, we've run up about 45 billion in deficits between 2016 and 2020. And this year, 2021, you may add another 10 or 12 to that. That makes it 57 billion. And if you add another 10 to 13 next year, you're talking in a period of 7 or 8 years. It cannot continue, and therefore we need to consider how we're going to deal with the revenue issues and the uncertainties around the numbers.
All right. Well, I want to thank you very much. This has been a very, very strong and enlightened discussion. No consensus of views here. I think from Roger we can take that he's worried about the assumptions. From Nirad we can say he's willing to give the government the benefit of the doubt, but we'll wait and see. And from Larry we will see his position is that there are credibility issues and there are challenges.